Hi, and welcome to Katie's Corner in Space. We had a really wonderful first contact on Discovery this season. I don't think they could have done anything more interesting. Everyone worked together. They used various talents from linguistics to mathematics. They also had a rogue element working against them the entire time, a desperate situation that made it all vital that first contact not only go well, but that they're able to communicate exactly the problem and what they need to do to fix it, to survive. And in the end, not only was the crew of the Discovery, the president, and other representatives able to do this, but they were doing this with such an alien form of communication that it was utterly fascinating to watch each step. And in the end, they've made a new friend, or at the very least, not a new enemy. And that's how first contact should work. But is that how it always works? Well, of course not. If it did, it would be a pretty boring story. So this is 5 times first contact went horribly wrong. For me, the first one is going to be Enterprise. Just trying to go visit a little monastery on Pajem. T'Pol does a very good job of explaining the rituals, how they need to be quiet, make sure they have permission before doing anything. Unfortunately, no one knows that the Andorians are very sure this is a spy station and have already taken over. There's a big old mess. Everything goes horribly wrong. And in the end, not only does Archer expose the Vulcans, but Pajem is destroyed. Their relationship with the Vulcans overall is not going to go well from here on. And the Andorians have not only just found out they're right about the spies, but they've met these strange humans, odd alien pink people who ended up helping them out, and now the general is indebted to them, which ends up being a really great way to carry on the story. And so aren't we really glad they had a terrible first contact? But overall, yeah, that's not how you want things to go. Now, my number 2 is going to be on Voyager, although it's a close tie between the two. If I had to choose, yeah, I do have to choose. This is the problem. It's going to be between the Hirogen and the Kazon. Now, the Kazon to me were never really all that fantastic. They are the poor man's Klingon, and they don't do a very good job of even that. The Hirogen, however, were scary as heck. From the moment that Seven accidentally electrocutes this guy trying to usurp the communications array they find, to being hunted, to being captured, to one of the better 2 parts in Voyager, by far. And instead of Janeway finding a way to make what ends up being the worst first contact, thanks to Seven, into something usable, it just carries on and on and on. In the end, Janeway gives them Starfleet technology, which to me, I mean, let's start off with a really bad first contact and end up giving away technology we're not supposed to. It's a good storyline, but so many bad choices from situations that, granted, she didn't have a lot of control over, but the Hirogen definitely are the worst first contact for Voyager. Now, I say that because the one I really want to be able to pick is from Blink of an Eye, the species on the planet that just spins too fast. Voyager accidentally influences the entire culture's growth for centuries. And as bad as that is, they never really address it, except for the fact that at first Janeway says, well, we've introduced ourselves slowly into their culture. It's happened over a period of time for them. But ultimately, that first contact, Voyager becoming that third pole and that new light and this supposed God in the sky totally influenced the entire culture. There's no way of getting around the fact that it was a bad first contact and resulted in almost everything you don't want to happen. In case you're wondering if I'm doing this in a particular order, I'm really not, although it seems like I am. I just noticed. Number 3 is the Gemhadar. It happens very innocently. Sisko is taking Jake on a camping trip so he can do some homework. Quark invites himself along with Nog with the same excuse, although with ulterior motives. And while things are going terribly because Quark is not a camper, they get captured by Gemhadar. It's a really weird way to introduce them. However, I enjoy the fact that it doesn't even begin to tell you what a mess things are, because ultimately it's not the Gemhadar who are their enemies, it's the Dominion. And all of this results in a years-long war that absolutely could have been avoided had they just not had first contact with the Gemhadar. And number 4, that's going to be the Mintakins. So it starts out as a basic observation of a culture as it develops. It turns into a kidnapping and Picard being seen as a deity. Now, Deanna and Riker go down and try to fix things. However, at every turn, it just gets a little worse. They do a great job of trying to blend in. However, the people down there are clever and are able to see, take clues, understand what's going on without really any trouble. In the end, Picard is forced to admit to the people who are pre-warp exactly who he is, who they are. And it oddly turns out well in the end there. However, as I said in blink of an eye, over eons, a small moment can completely change the way a culture develops. So I wonder if that's something we might find out later on, what happens to the Mintakins. And number 5, well, there's really no contest. When it comes to bad first contacts and the ramifications being never ending, we're gonna have to go with the Next Generation and the Borg. Now, to be fair, there's absolutely no way they could have avoided this once Q snapped his fingers. Guinan tells them sort of what to expect, but really, there's no way to prepare for the unpreparable, and the Borg are something they've never seen or heard of at this point. There is no way to defend themselves. There is no way to try to make peace or make any kind of headway towards a good first contact, though Picard does try and try. Now, of course, why this is, although number 5, top at my ranking, it's going to be because it changes the tapestry of Star Trek for not just the Next Generation, but of course for Voyager, for movies that we've seen, and now for Picard. It's become such a big part of our history and story of Star Trek. It's about as important as who's wearing a red shirt. And so those are my 5 bad, worst first contacts that just went horribly wrong. Let me know which ones you think are the worst. I definitely did not cover them all. And in fact, part of my list comes from StarTrek.com, where they have a 10 best or 10 worst. Blink of an eye was not on that list. It's just one where I'm thinking, you're not supposed to make them invent a religion for you. So if you liked this video, don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to like. Go ahead and set that notification for my next video, because there will still be a second video today. Normally today would be my 5 things Trekkers don't think are Trekkie enough for Trek. And guess what? It's still coming. So I will either see you in a few hours or I will see you next week. Bye.